10 years of marriage. Nathaniel has been involved in scandals for the 10th time because of filming. Reporters surrounded us with cameras and microphones. My expression remained calm. Nathaniel is a dedicated and good actor. He is also a loyal husband to his marriage. I hope everyone will stop slandering him. The reporters below whispered among themselves. Some looked at me with sympathy. Others had a look of curiosity. As soon as the press conference ended, I received intimate photos of Nathaniel and his new lover at a hotel. That day happened to be the wrap-up of their filming. After transferring the money to the informant, I was so tired that I closed my eyes. Nathaniel, this is the last time I'm cleaning up your mess. When I got home, I unexpectedly found Nathaniel there. He was watching Chloe's latest variety show. He laughed out loud from time to time. He was very focused on it. After he noticed me, he cleared his throat lightly. He said in a flat tone, "I heard you're about to join the crew. I prepared some ointment. Don't forget to bring it." I looked at the medicine box. I found some sticky notes still attached on top. It said, "Nathaniel, remember to give it to Chloe." I let out a cold smile, but I didn't call him out on it. Nathaniel said with his head down, "There's a wrap party tonight. Don't wait for me." I reminded him with a hint of sarcasm, "Be careful, don't get caught again." Didn't I already say that? All of that was for promoting the movie. It was just a pretense. Why are you taking it so seriously? He thought explaining was unnecessary. He walked away, looking quite impatient. Nathaniel didn't come back all night. The next day, he took the initiative to offer to take me to the set. There was breakfast on the table. He reminded me to eat it while it's hot. He looked at me with a big smile. I nodded, but I felt a bit confused inside. As soon as I got in the car, I saw a crystal pendant hanging on the mirror. There was a pink blanket in the back seat. "What's wrong?" He noticed that I was looking at him. He turned his head and asked with a puzzled expression. I shook my head. My gaze lingered on the faint marks visible on his collarbone. The sunlight was great, but it made my eyes uncomfortable. We arrived at the filming location. The car hadn't even come to a stop when I heard Chloe's sweet voice calling out, "Nathaniel, what are you doing here? We just finished working together and ran into each other again. We really are fated to meet." I was a bit taken aback. It turns out he was so enthusiastic early in the morning, just to find a suitable reason to visit the set. "Liam, share the coffee from the trunk with everyone." Nathaniel waved to his assistant, without even looking at me carrying big bags and small bags. The director heard that Nathaniel was here and hurried over. "Oh dear, isn't this the big star who just won the Best Actor award? I really didn't expect you to come to our small crew. You are giving us too much honor. Don't worry, even though Isabella is a stunt double, but since she is your wife, we will definitely take special care of her." Nathaniel furrowed his brows unhappily upon hearing this. He said, "I don't want you to give her special treatment just because Isabella is my wife. Professional ability is what matters most in this industry." The director was taken aback for a moment before realizing. He quickly nodded in agreement. Understood. Chloe has just debuted. She is not familiar with many things. We will trouble you to be more understanding and take care of her," Nathaniel said earnestly to the director. Chloe, standing beside him, linked her arm with his. She playfully stuck out her tongue. I silently turned away, but my heart ached as if it were pricked by needles. "Isabella, here." Liam handed me the coffee. I just got it. I saw Chloe casually bringing her milk tea to Nathaniel's lips. He turned his head. He dodged it. Nathaniel has always been a neat freak, and he never likes sweet things. Seeing that he disagreed, Chloe pouted and pretended to be angry. Nathaniel was at a loss with her. He could only smile and shake his head. He took a small sip following her hand. Chloe watched him frown and pout. She couldn't help but laugh out loud. I lowered my head and took a sip of coffee. It was bitter in my mouth. When I first started in the industry, Nathaniel was just a minor role. Stunt doubles usually have little presence on set. Even their names are used by others. Like that, Guido replaced them. But Nathaniel was different. He not only remembered my name, but also stepped up to help me when the director was difficult with me. Just like that, we slowly came together. Nathaniel rose to fame with his outstanding acting skills. On the day, he received the Best Newcomer award. He proposed to me on camera. I watched the television and cried with emotion. After getting married, he became busier and busier. Gradually, he stopped coming home, and he wouldn't answer the phone. It was difficult to even have a meal with him. "Stunt double, get ready. You'll be on in a moment." The assistant director's shout interrupted my memories. I had been very careful, but the accident still happened. The wire was descending too quickly. As I landed, my head scraped hard against the gravel on the ground. I had a large gash on my forehead. The wound looked serious. Everyone gasped and rushed over. I forced myself to stand up and said it was nothing. But my gaze drifted past the crowd. I looked towards a man and a woman in the distance. Chloe was pouting. She was seriously reading Nathaniel's palm. The man gently tucked her hair behind her ear. I moved my fingers slightly. I lowered my head to hide my emotions in my eyes. Next, it's Chloe's turn. Nathaniel slowly walked towards me. Does it hurt? He looked at the freshly bandaged wound on my hand. It doesn't hurt. I already said you don't need to do these things now. Women are always fighting and killing, getting injured all over. What a sight. He frowned. His expression didn't look good. I remembered how he used to gently apply medicine to my wounds, while saying I could do whatever I wanted. He would protect me from behind. The words were still in my ears, but the speaker had already forgotten. Suddenly, Chloe screamed. Nathaniel immediately ran over. He hurriedly pushed the people around away. Make way. What's going on? Chloe's eyes were red. Her tone was aggrieved. I was too careless. It's my first time holding a sword. I cut my hand. Nathaniel directly took her finger in his mouth. The people around were stunned. They were secretly glancing at me and whispering, "Look at how straightforward he is." I felt a tightness in my heart. Chloe glanced at him shyly, suddenly thought of something, turned to look at me. His eyes were full of mockery. The shoot at night is for the night scene. I'm extremely exhausted. Finally, we can wrap up. Isabella, Nathaniel called out to me. He looked a bit uncomfortable. I looked at him, waiting for him to continue speaking. The water is too cold. Chloe is not feeling well. Can you take her place for this underwater scene? I let out a cold laugh. I'm the stand-in for the female lead. Do I have to perform even the supporting female role? Chloe heard this. She tugged at Nathaniel's sleeve, pouting with a look of grievance, about to cry. Nathaniel's expression darkened. He suppressed his anger and said to me, "Why have you suddenly become so unreasonable? Go on. What will it take for you to agree? Give me double the salary." He sighed in relief after hearing that, but I clenched my fists tightly. My nails nearly dug into my palm. The underwater scene took a full 2 hours to shoot. I crawled up onto the shore, soaking wet. Nathaniel finally felt a bit guilty. He handed me a towel. He cleared his throat as if to say something, but I turned and walked away. That night, I took 2 fever-reducing pills. While changing the bandage, I made a phone call. "Olivia, the movie can be released early. I will go over earlier." Olivia is a good friend I met when I first started working. At that time, she was shooting a web drama. Now she is a popular action film director in Hollywood. We have kept in touch over the years. She has invited me to act in her films multiple times, but I have turned her down every time. I know that such a big production takes half a year to shoot, and Nathaniel's career is on the rise. I really can't get away, but now I've figured it out. I'm just someone who is dispensable in his life. Why bother being so sentimental and revolving around him? Tonight's charity auction. Half of the entertainment industry is here. I'm linked arm in arm with Nathaniel, wearing a polite smile on my face. You can pick whatever you like later. Nathaniel leaned closer to me. He whispered. He glanced over there. I also noticed someone not far away aiming a camera at us. I forced a smile, but my eyes were cold. In the eyes of others, we still seem affectionate, but Chloe has already lost her patience. I had just walked into the restroom. She quietly followed me. "Mrs. Nathaniel, you're really quite generous. Can you really pretend not to see what's going on above?" She particularly emphasized the pronunciation of the words Mrs. Nathaniel. I took a piece of paper. I calmly asked her back, "Don't you want to sit down?" She looked puzzled. "What do you mean? It's about Mrs. Nathaniel's position. Nathaniel cares for you and dotes on you. You might as well ask him. See if he's willing to give you that position." Chloe's expression changed repeatedly. She knew that, although Nathaniel was known for his flirtatiousness, no one had truly entered his heart over the years, even if you occupy that position. So what, you still can't capture his heart? She looked at me, speechless. With a smug gesture, she waved her hand and swayed her hips away. I pondered her words. I shook my head with a bitter smile. The most eye-catching item at tonight's auction is undoubtedly the tears of the angel, the sapphire necklace, symbolizing true love in this life. Captivated all the ladies. The price had already reached 9 million twice. 9 million, going 3 times, 10 million. Nathaniel raised the bidding paddle. A chorus of surprised voices erupted around. Mr. Nathaniel bid 10 million. Is there anyone who will bid higher? No one spoke. 10 million, third time. Sold. The women present looked at me enviously, but I only felt helpless. They might have misunderstood. Chloe gently turned her head. Dear, it's yours now. I watched Nathaniel's lips move, but heard no sound. My heart ached intensely. Not long after, at the film festival, the necklace made its debut around Chloe's neck. Nathaniel even held her hand as they walked the red carpet together. The two took the opportunity to promote the film, unabashedly exchanging glances. Nathaniel won the Best Actor award this time. He stood straight on the podium. He said, "To receive this award, the one I should thank the most is my wife. She is here today as well." His gaze swept over the audience. It finally landed on Chloe. "Chloe, thank you." Nathaniel finished speaking and gave me a heart gesture. He has always been composed, but now he expresses himself like this in front of everyone. The audience and guests around were smiling at me, but I felt a chill all over my body. Everyone thought he was calling out to Isabella, but I knew in my heart, he has always called me Isabella by my full name. The camera suddenly turned to me. I pinched my thigh hard. I forced out a stiff smile. When the camera moved away, I turned to look at Chloe. She was smugly curling her lips, staring at me with a provocative look. I don't understand why Nathaniel is being so excessive. He actually used me as a backdrop for his flirtation with Chloe. Amidst the laughter and joy around me, my heart felt as cold as ice. In the end, I really didn't want to go for the group photo, but Liam insisted on dragging me over. I'm standing to the left of Nathaniel. Chloe is on his right. Suddenly, the stage let out a loud noise. It all collapsed. I hadn't had time to react, and then it fell down. The last thing I saw was Nathaniel tightly protecting Chloe. I've given up countless times, but I still held onto a tiny bit of hope for him. I closed my eyes. I let the darkness envelop me. When I opened my eyes again, Nathaniel is looking at me with an indescribable expression. The doctor said luckily the platform wasn't high, just a mild concussion. I turned my head and said nothing. I'm going to shoot a film out of town for a month. Liam will arrange for someone to accompany you. You should rest well. Let's get a divorce. I calmly interrupted him. He let out a cold laugh. You're serious. It's my fault for not holding on to you. How will you live without me? Such a big house for you to live in. And there are several people to take care of you. Spend the card as you like. What else are you not satisfied with? You know this isn't what I want. I'm holding back my anger, but I still couldn't help but shout at him. Nathaniel was obviously taken aback. Then he said with a stern face, "This is a critical time for my career. Can't you show a little understanding? Find someone else. The next one will definitely be more obedient." I sneered with red eyes. "Are you out of your mind? Can't you be a bit more mature? You're over 30 and still arguing with me endlessly. I've been too indulgent with you. Isabella, don't think this will get my attention. I'm really annoyed by those who are jealous." After he finished speaking, he turned and left. I glanced at the Roman 4 drip, struggling to get up to adjust the Roman 4 bottle. I almost cried. I haven't slept a wink all night. I'm deleting all his photos from my phone one by one, planning to completely let go of the past. I don't have much time left. After being discharged, I went straight to Nathaniel's film set to find him. I walked up to his trailer. I heard some muffled sounds coming from inside. "Are you in there? What should I do if I'm pregnant?" Chloe said, out of breath. The man replied lazily, "What are you worried about? If you're pregnant, just have the baby. Who will that child call Mom? Isabella will be the first wife. You can be the concubine," the man said jokingly. Chloe blushed and pushed him. "You are really annoying." I stood there. My heart was filled with humiliation. After we got married, Nathaniel said he didn't want to have children. He wanted to enjoy a life for just the two of us. For that, I even went to get contraception. Now I realize, he just didn't want me to have his child. A huge pain instantly engulfed me. The next morning, I went to the film set to find Nathaniel. I definitely wouldn't have disturbed him at work before, but I don't care about these things at all now. A friend wants to invite you for a cameo in their new play. I took the liberty to accept it for you. Sign here. Nathaniel hates it when others make decisions for him. His expression immediately darkened after hearing that. He said coldly, "I told you not to make decisions for me. Why are you bringing in such a messy script?" He casually flipped through the first page and signed it directly. "Understand your position. This won't happen again." I nodded, turned and left, finished packing my luggage. I placed the divorce agreement and the USB drive on the coffee table, left without looking back. Nathaniel ended the shoot early. He rarely turned down Chloe's invitation. He planned to go back and have dinner with me. He wanted to ease our relationship. In the car, the assistant quietly observed his expression, then reminded him, "Nathaniel, this contract has issues. I just asked the director. They said they weren't preparing for this play at all." Nathaniel carefully read through the contract. He frowned and said, "Go ask Isabella what's going on." The assistant looked puzzled. "Isn't Isabella supposed to go far away? She said to hire another assistant to handle your public image. After that, she won't take care of these matters anymore." Nathaniel's expression suddenly changed. He asked, "What faraway trip?" The assistant hesitated for a moment. She retorted, "Don't you know? I'm not too clear on the details either." Nathaniel felt tense all over. A hint of panic flashed in his eyes. He immediately went to check. The car hadn't come to a complete stop yet. He suddenly jumped out. The house was empty. He was the only one there. He felt particularly uneasy. He saw the divorce agreement on the coffee table. Nathaniel's hands trembled violently. He almost couldn't catch his breath. At that moment, someone shouted, "Nathaniel, Isabella is leaving by plane today. She has already arrived at the airport." Upon hearing this, Nathaniel didn't even have time to put on his shoes. He hurriedly rushed out the door. The car sped down the highway. Nathaniel gripped the steering wheel tightly. His knuckles turned white from the force. He has always been too confident. These years he has done whatever he wanted outside. It's just that he believes I can't live without him. The car was stuck on the overpass. Nathaniel kept checking his watch. His palms were all sweaty. There was a long line of cars in front of the airport. He was extremely anxious. He got out of the car and ran. "Boarding time is approaching." I was about to go in with my luggage. The announcement sounded, "Attention, MTKS Isabella. Your family is waiting for you in the lobby. Please do not leave. Please pay attention, MTKS Isabella. Your family is waiting for you in the lobby. Please do not leave." Nathaniel should still be filming right now. Suddenly, he heard the announcement. I turned my head in confusion. A man with red eyes rushed over in a hurry. He held me tightly. Nathaniel's voice was hoarse. He kept saying, "Don't go, don't go." He held me tighter. I struggled hard, finally broke free. Nathaniel asked bitterly, "Why, you are the only one for my wife, and it will only be you. I have never been serious with them." I took a step back. I smiled gently. "Wife, I'm just a tool for you to maintain your image. You are clearly lying. I still have to repeatedly help you cover up. It's been a full 10 times. Over the years, have you ever cared about my feelings? Every time I faced the media's difficulties alone, thinking about this, my eyes turned red." Nathaniel looked sad. He weakly pleaded, "It's all my fault. I'm sorry. I won't let you feel sad again in the future. Can you give me another chance?" I'm looking at him, feeling a bit tired. He said calmly, "Nathaniel, this time I don't want to give in anymore. Between us, it's always me who compromises. You asked me to take care of the home, so I gave up good job opportunities. You said you didn't want children, so I went and got contraception. But what about you?" Nathaniel's throat felt a bit tight. He said, "Wife, in the future, let me compromise, okay? All these years, I've been working hard to support the family. I just wanted to give you a good life." I thought, boarding time is here. I don't want to continue arguing with him. I was about to take a step, but my calf was tightly gripped by someone. "Isabella, I won't let you go." Nathaniel shouted desperately. More and more people surrounded us. Many people recognized him. They all took out their phones to take pictures. "I just want to quickly end this farce," he said in a low voice. "That day outside the RV, I heard your conversation with Chloe and the USB drive on the table. You haven't had time to look at it, right? Let go quickly. Don't make me dislike you more." Upon hearing this, his expression suddenly changed. He slowly released his grip on my hand. Every time Nathaniel left in the past, he only left me with his back. But this time, it was my turn to turn and leave first. I met Olivia at Los Angeles airport. After Nathaniel returned home, troubled, he finally picked up the forgotten USB drive. When he opened the folder named 10 years, he felt his heartbeat suddenly become erratic. It was all pictures of the same man, but with 10 different female companions. Nathaniel's heart tightened instantly. He always thought the public relations should be my responsibility, but he never considered that my heart had been scarred for a decade. He couldn't bear to look any longer. He looked up and closed his eyes. Memories from the past flooded back all at once. They went to the film set together for auditions, crammed into a 30-square-meter rental. To save money, they had to walk several extra kilometers every day. 2 people from incomplete families since childhood. They relied on each other for warmth like this. He remembers the vow he made to me on our wedding day. He said he would never change his heart. He would wholeheartedly protect our little home. This should have been a happy ending, but he messed it all up. In the empty house, the man couldn't help but cry softly. Days later, a video suddenly surfaced online of Nathaniel desperately chasing someone at the airport. His anxiety could be seen from every angle. Many unaware netizens watched it. They were all moved by his persistence. Oh my God, the best actor didn't even bother to put on his shoes. So handsome and so devoted to his wife. It's just like a dream. Such a dedicated man. I really wish I could meet a few more. He gave up all his work. He spends all day sulking in the house. When Chloe came to find him, he was as drunk as usual. Nathaniel, why haven't you contacted me lately? Chloe gently leaned over. Go away. Nathaniel drunkenly pushed her hand away. What's wrong? Isn't it just leaving a woman? Let me be your Mrs. Nathaniel. I promise I'm much better than her. Chloe stubbornly clung to his arm and acted cute. Nathaniel suddenly became a bit more sober. Who do you think you are? How can you compare with her? In my life, I only recognize Isabella as my wife. As soon as Chloe heard this, her face immediately turned red. She angrily said, as expected of an Oscar winner, the drama has even seeped into real life. Nathaniel, have you forgotten how sweetly you spoke to me back then? He lifted his gaze slightly. She said impatiently. After saying that, she quickly walked away. Chloe raised her voice. Stop pretending. Everyone in the circle knows you're always messing around outside. That's the nickname they gave Isabella. You think no one knows. Nathaniel's expression changed slightly. He turned to look at her. Chloe saw that he finally reacted. She immediately said smugly, Wu Dalang. Ha 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 ha, if you ask me. Isabella is even worse than Wu Dalang. After all, Pan Jinlian only found 2 people. I've become everyone's topic of conversation. It's all because of him. Thinking of this, Nathaniel felt a sharp pain in his heart. Chloe was laughing happily. Suddenly, she was slapped by Nathaniel. She covered her face in shock. She shouted, How could you hit my face? Chloe frantically took out her makeup mirror. She saw that one side of her face was very swollen. She lost control and rushed over to scratch Nathaniel's face, but he just stood there expressionless, without fighting back. After that, Chloe never came again. Nathaniel opened the door quickly. Nathaniel. As soon as Nathaniel opened the door, the assistant immediately shoved the phone into his hand. On the screen, a famous gossip reporter was doing a live broadcast. This time, the scoop is a big story. There's a notoriously unfaithful star in the entertainment industry who has cheated multiple times over the past decade. Everyone, hurry up and pay attention. The truth will be revealed tomorrow. The assistant asked anxiously, Nathaniel, should we contact the team to handle it immediately? Isabella is not here. I'll handle it here. Nathaniel immediately interrupted him. Don't interfere. Let him post it. But your image will be completely ruined. All the reputation you've built over the years too. The assistant didn't continue. Nathaniel smiled bitterly and shook his head. If it weren't for Isabella, I'm afraid my reputation has long been ruined. I'm just returning something that doesn't belong to me. The next day, Nathaniel's negative news is everywhere. His phone keeps ringing non-stop. All partner brands have terminated their contracts with him. The film investors and advertisers are also demanding compensation from him. Very soon, all the money he saved over the years is gone. Even his house was auctioned off by the court. Online discussions about him are filled with accusations. Everyone is criticizing him. Nathaniel's 10 affairs were exposed one by one. Chloe's career just started to take off before it plummeted. The production team stated they would not hire artists with negative news. The agency also plans to terminate their collaboration with her. I was completely unaware of the uproar happening in the country. After arriving in Los Angeles, Olivia warmly welcomed me. She spent a week taking me around, eating delicious food, letting me completely relax. After that, we threw ourselves into the movie preparations. Before shooting, I still have to undergo 6 months of professional training, in addition to a lot of close-range combat moves. There are also many high-difficulty stunts. This is a big test for me. Training every day is exhausting and tough, but the feeling of working hard towards my goal makes me feel fulfilled. Time flies quickly. 6 months have passed in the blink of an eye. The film has finally begun shooting. Everything feels new and interesting to me. Although I encountered many difficulties during the filming, I even got injured, but I never thought about quitting. The movie took a long time to shoot. I was constantly busy. I rarely thought about Nathaniel. That period of sadness also gradually faded from my memory on that day. I went to get my lunch box as usual. I suddenly felt that the person serving the food looked a bit familiar, even though he was bundled up tightly. I didn't think much of it. First, I need to eat well. I was eating my meal. The chandelier above suddenly swayed violently. I hadn't reacted yet. A tall figure rushed over. He tightly shielded me beneath him. I heard him let out a painful groan. His right arm was severely injured from the impact. He was loaded onto the ambulance. I got a clear look at his face. He was in a lot of pain. His face was terrifyingly pale. His eyes were bloodshot but fixed intently on me. I turned my head away. I didn't look at him. How has this year been? Nathaniel broke the silence. His voice was a bit hoarse and deep. It seemed he was suppressing some emotion. It's been pretty good. I paused before saying again, "You've lost too much blood. You need to conserve your strength. Don't speak for now." His pale lips moved slightly. "Don't you want me to live? You saved me. How could I wish for your death?" I replied calmly. "I treated you that way before. I thought you would hate me." I didn't say anything more. "The surgery is over," the doctor told me with an apologetic tone, although he was sent to the hospital in time. "But this gentleman's arm injury is too severe. They tried their best." I felt uneasy inside. I didn't know how to tell Nathaniel about this. As I walked into the ward, Nathaniel noticed my bad complexion. I pretended to be relaxed and said, "It's nothing. I already know everything. His hand is just useless now. Don't worry too much. Medical technology is so advanced now. You need to have confidence." I hesitated for a moment, but I still said thank you to him. "In any case, thank you for saving me today. Focus on healing your injury first. I have already hired a caregiver to take care of you." After I finished speaking, I was ready to leave. "Can I exchange one of my hands for your forgiveness?" he suddenly asked. I was silent for a while. "Thank you for saving me, but that doesn't mean I can forgive you for the emotional pain you caused me." I didn't turn away. "Nathaniel, stop dwelling on the past first, heal your wounds. That's all I have to say." I quickly left. On the day the movie wrapped up, Nathaniel was discharged from the hospital. The doctor did his best, but his hand still had serious after-effects. He came to find me, hoping I could accompany him for the last journey. We sat at the airport. No one spoke. "I owe you too much. One hand is not enough to repay." Nathaniel slightly lifted his head, struggling to hold back the urge to cry. He said, "Don't worry. I won't come looking for you again." The other party simply responded, I didn't know what to say. As Nathaniel prepared to leave, he suddenly turned around and came back. He asked me, "Can we hug one last time?" His voice was somewhat trembling. I took a step back. "Nathaniel, goodbye, never to see you again." 2 years later, the movie was released. I played a cold-blooded agent in the film. I'm the only one with an East Asian face. The domestic audience all said it was good. I won the Best Supporting Actress award for this film. I finally stood on the podium as an actress after coming off stage. Olivia and I excitedly hugged each other. I was so happy that I cried. Since then, I, at 30 years old, welcomed a great opportunity in my career. More and more people are starting to understand the profession of a stunt double because of my experience. They are also paying attention to the stories of more behind-the-scenes workers. My agent temporarily arranged an interview program for me. After discussing my journey from stunt double to actress, the host suddenly asked about my love life. My agent was a bit anxious. She wanted to stop me. I glanced at her and told her not to worry. Someone asked me, "Everyone knows you were married before. Are you willing to talk about it?" I said casually. "It's okay. It was a long time ago. You used to really like this man." "Is that so?" I smiled. I shrugged. "Isn't that obvious?" The audience started to laugh. The atmosphere on site became much lighter. The host saw that I was completely relaxed and no longer tense. He asked me, "Do you regret marrying this man?" I thought carefully. There indeed were feelings in the past, but now I see this marriage as a life experience. Without him, I might not have become who I am today. "Do you still think about him?" I answered honestly. "I do think about him, but not very often. I was with him for over a decade. Unless I lost my memory, it's impossible to completely forget this person." The host laughed after listening. I paused for a moment and then spoke again. "I can now face the past calmly, because I no longer love him." In a dilapidated factory guardhouse in the urban village, an elderly man with graying hair was staring intently at the woman on the TV. "Master, please help me open the door. It's been a long time coming." Suddenly, a head popped out from the window. Nathaniel quickly stood up. "Hey, why are you crying?" What drama is so touching? The driver leaned out to take a look. Nathaniel hurriedly came out to open the car door. The dialogue on the TV was still playing. Finally, ask the fans a light-hearted question. Have you met someone you like now? I smiled. Not yet, but I feel it should be soon. The interview was nearing its end. The host stood up and hugged me. Can you say something to the audience who just went through a breakup? I want to tell everyone. Don't be afraid to love again just because you've met the wrong person. I hope you find the right partner for you soon.